You are now listening to Regular Guys Podcast. And we're rolling. Episode 11. Man, we're really starting to stack these up. I am Matty Ice. We are Regular Guys. We got a good show planned for you guys. I'm joined by PJ. We have a PJ sighting this week.
What's up, man? I'm back. I'm like a polar bear. Hibernate for a little bit. Rare sighting. Come out every now and then. Bless y'all with my presence. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, man. We know you guys miss PJ. I mean, shoot, we miss PJ.
But you know what, Matt? It's not about me. We have an even more special guest today that I'm excited about. Matt.
Yeah, we do. We do. No Jake this week, so we went to the bullpen. Stepped in last minute. We have Caleb Garcia.
I feel like this might be better than Jake. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, this is the
Jake.
OG.
Caleb
This is the OG here. We got.
Yeah, man. Caleb, tell the people what's good, man.
Hey, well, thanks. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Especially adjusting with the time zone and everything, the time difference. I'm out here in Phoenix and everything. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Regular Guys Podcast is sweeping the globe one day at a time, so to speak.
Be united. I think we've been friends like at least 15 years, man. Yeah. Matt, I don't want to hijack the show, but I got a surprise for you guys that I want to show y'all. I'm really excited to have found this.
Man.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Goodness.
Three of us, we had a football team when we were growing up, when we were kids.
Man, what a way to start the show.
We drew up plays. We had a whole roster set up. Matt, can I read this bio here that we wrote up?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
This player profile that we wrote up on Caleb. It says, though Caleb's smarts make him an excellent head coach, don't be fooled. Caleb is a clutch receiver. He excels in the short and intermediate range. Caleb also contains a variety of shake and bake moves at running back. Not very good as a deep threat receiver, but is reliable as a backup QB. If Caleb improves in route running, Caleb will become an elite receiver.
Man.
Like that. Who wrote that? That's not my handwriting. I don't know who wrote that.
I don't know who handwriting that.
I don't even remember reading that ever in my life, but so I know I didn't write it.
Here's Matt's. This Polynesian quarterback shows both a powerful arm and consistent accuracy. Does an accurate job of reading defenses, doesn't make poor throws often. Also adequate as a blocker. On defense, he is an interception machine.
Man, how old were we when this came out?
This was probably, 2005, Caleb? 2004, something like that? 5, 6 in your backyard?
Maybe 07.
Yeah, I'm going to say 06,
maybe.
07. I want to say I was middle school.
It tells you how old it is because at the time, we thought the name Thunder was so original because the OKC Thunder didn't exist yet. So.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Man, a little bit
it's way back.
Blast from the past.
Yeah,
right
man,
there.
just a little throwback for y'all.
Nice.
Maybe every now and then I'll pop something in. You like these plays we had drawn up? Who was the first read, second read?
Crazy.
Man, we were detailed with it. Let me just read my bio here. Wrap it up. It feels like I wrote this bio because it's pretty
I wouldn't be shocked if you did.
Pretty boastful. Listen. The speedy ball hawk has a knack for hauling in deep throws and making acrobatic catches. Still true. Excellent route runner. Oh, still true. Solid on defense and man coverage. Accurate but not a powerful thrower. Hey, wait a minute. Lacks strength to be a blocker. All right. Well, let's close that up.
I see no lies there. Last little thing. Me and PJ had we have this one route patterned down that no matter what happens, it's our go-to.
Oh man, don't tell the people.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell the people. You just gotta know it. You just gotta know when it happens.
That route is undefeated. It's worked against everybody.
Yeah, because they don't see it coming. But man, we have a good show for you. We have a PJ sighting. We have special guest Caleb joining us for this week. Just a rundown on this week's theme. This week we're going to be playing start, bench, and cut with the NFL and the NBA. No off-topic news with the NFL. But we have quite a bit to cover in the NBA with playoff games going on. Both East and Western Conference Finals are starting to wrap up. So we will take a dive in and kind of give our predictions as to who will take over and come out of that Hawks versus Bucks series. Also, too, we will dive into our favorite and your favorite segment, the hype. We reached out to you guys just like we do each and every week to see what you're hyped for, and we'll also share what we're hyped for. So to begin, we will start with our segment of start, cut, and bench. So just to explain for you guys that are watching and listening, I will name off three names. You have three options. It's literally what the name of the game sounds like. You have to choose who you will start, who will you will cut, and who will be on your bench. So I tried to make it spicy a little bit. I didn't want to keep it so much with just names nowadays. I wanted to go from the past, to really kind of make it difficult on you. I will say this to make this very interesting. All the players that I name, we're going to say they're all in their primes and they're all healthy to make it even more harder. All right. So with our first start, cut, and bench, we'll give this one to PJ.
Let's get it.
Randy Moss.
Oh, start.
Yeah, Jerry Rice,
Oh,
Calvin Johnson.
ooh. All right. So I'll preface it by saying, of course, I have biases as a lifelong Minnesota Viking fan. Randy's not getting cut. It's hard though because Megatron was getting triple teamed
Yes.
his prime and beating it. Like he's
Yes.
and Rice, even though I think Moss is better, how many people stack up against Rice in his prime? All right, I'm gonna go with. I can't believe I'm gonna do this, man.
Oh no.
I can't believe I'm gonna do this.
Oh no.
I'm gonna go start Megatron,
Wow.
bench Randy, cut Rice.
Wow. I didn't see that. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's
I
why.
didn't see that.
Here's why. I feel like if you have Megatron as your wide receiver one, you automatically have one cornerback, maybe a linebacker, and a safety attention. So you have at least two guys devoted to him. That means you have 9 guys covering your other 10. That's an advantage for the offense. You could say the same thing for Moss. You could say the same thing for Rice, but I do feel like if you had a great lockdown corner like a Revis, maybe you'd trust him on an island versus Moss. I don't think there's any corner you would trust one-on-one versus Megatron. I think you're always doubling Megatron. So I'm gonna start.
That's a shocker. That's a
It
shocker.
is.
I'm not gonna lie. I really
It is.
thought the like you said, the bias was gonna play into fact, and Randy was definitely
I'm
going
a
to
reasonable
start.
man. I'm a
I'll give you
reasonable
that.
man.
I respect
I
that.
think Randy's a better receiver than all of them. I'm just thinking from a team perspective what I would do. But because they're receivers, how often do you have just one receiver coming on the field?
Yeah.
Rarely, right? Single back, maybe some sets. So if I have Randy on the bench, that means in 3 receiver sets, Randy's coming out. So now I have Megatron and Randy
Yeah.
on the field. That's a win for the offense. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that matchup.
What about you, Caleb? Start, cut, bench, Moss, Rice, Megatron.
It's interesting that he picked that because I would actually pick it the same way for the reason being you said that everyone is in their prime.
Yeah.
And you think, Megatron's career wasn't very long. He retired at 30, 31. I don't even
31.
remember.
Yeah.
So, if that's like not into a factor, we're assuming everyone's healthy. I would probably put Megatron to start. And, it's hard for me to not cut Moss only because I know Jerry Rice is a winner, is a champion.
Yeah.
to multiple time champion.
Are you coming on this show and immediately saying that you're gonna bench Randy Moss?
Oh, I
Let me
guess I'm cutting
let
him.
me
That's
oh, let me
Oh,
kick this
he's
guy out of the
cutting.
meeting. Let me kick this guy out of here. I can't believe this.
Well, you know
well,
what?
thanks for having. No,
You know, okay, you're not there alone. I agree with
Oh.
you both. I am definitely starting Megatron.
Yeah.
This is how tall was this guy? 6'4", 6'5", maybe 6'3" to 6'5", in that range. A gazelle.
Yeah, man.
The 40 times just out of this roof. I mean, triple team, double team, single coverage, it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut Randy Moss.
Man.
And the reason why is because, in my eyes, Randy is a good deep threat. So is Megatron. And I'm going to bench Rice because of the simple fact, like you mentioned, Caleb, he's a winner. He's also a good route runner. He's not the fastest, but he's, pretty explosive. He's, he can get open. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to ride with. Megatron as my starter. Moss is getting the phone call from the GM that you're being cut, and we're going to ride with Rice as the number 2, the guy coming off the bench.
I feel like you guys are acting like Jerry Rice did that all by himself. He's a winner. He's a winner. He had 2 back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Come on. If Megatron wasn't a winner, but we're still starting him because you realize the teams he was on were trash. Outside of 3 seasons with Brady and what 2-3 seasons with Culpepper, name one QB that Randy had in the rest of his 15-year career. Come on, like it's not just about an individual in football that makes you a winner. Because if so, then you're calling Megatron a loser. Because he even win one playoff game? Come on.
no,
I will give it
but
to I will give it to you that Rice is a very crisp route runner.
yeah,
So I get what you're saying. Megatron and Moss, there's some overlap there in their skill set. So to have someone shifty route running, I can respect that second one. I can respect that point.
I just need a little bit different. I mean, I agree to a certain extent with what you're saying. When I say winner, I'm not saying like he created the culture, he created Montana and whatnot. Yeah, they helped, but he was also a big factor as to why they were so good. And also too, for you guys that are watching and listening, just like how we did last week with our top 3 players that you would start a team with, you will see these on our Instagram story next week. We'll make sure we include these. We want to see what you guys think. What tough decisions are you guys making? So moving on to our next one, we're going to keep this one current in today's NFL. Kittle, Kelsey, Waller. Caleb, who you got?
I'm gonna go with start Kelsey, bench Kittle, and cut Waller.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, part of this is I'm a little bit more reasonable with NBA. Like NFL, it's like I'm a lot more biased, I feel like. But I mean, I guess Kelsey's been so consistent. It's hard. Kittle has had a smaller sample size of being really great just because of injuries to the quarterback, or just like a season where, they just weren't that good, like the 49ers.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Kelsey,
I'll go with that.
It's this one. I feel like it's really a race for who to start and who to bench. I kind of feel like we're all going to say the same for who to cut. I could be wrong though. I'll go next on this one. So in this, I wanted to so badly go Kelsey, but I'm going to go Kittle because of the simple fact. I'm not saying Kelsey's not a blocker. He's definitely a willing blocker. Kittle's the better blocker. great athlete, speed, and I like that. I like that he can literally do it all type aspect. Whereas Kelsey's definitely really more so towards your receiving tight end. Again, he can block. Waller can block, but I want Kittle because of the upside that he can do everything and get dirty in the trenches on run play. So I'm gonna start Kittle. I'm a bench Kelsey, and I'm gonna cut Waller. What you got for us, PJ?
I think I'm gonna go to Caleb's side. Start Kelsey, bench Kittle, cut Waller, and I feel bad cutting Waller. Um, I have him in fantasy. I'm actually a really big Waller fan. I feel like he has a lot of potential, but he's inconsistent. But at the same time, how much of that inconsistency is really on Derek Carr and not him?
Yeah,
He has games where he legitimately has 10 to 12 catches a game. So he's a great target. He's reliable. He's there. But the next game, maybe Carr only targets him 4 times. I don't know how much of that's on Waller. But it's just hard to speak against Kelsey. To me, he's next level for sure. First ballot Hall of Famer. Um,
I think it affects Waller because of the simple fact it's really just him,
yeah,
and like teams know week in and week out, and although they know he'll have good games, but then against your good defenses, it's pretty easy to kind of blanket him, so to speak. But it is tough because I feel like Waller is just as good, but like you mentioned, it's the inconsistencies of not doing it each and every week that I
yeah.
feel he gets the boot. So
You could make the same argument though, like you did, that there's so much overlap between Kelsey and Kittle that you could
yeah,
keep Kelsey and put Waller on your bench for someone who's not like an up the seam tight end like a Kelsey is, but someone who's more
yeah,
like a drags, like a zag, like a guy who will get you 10 catches for 70 yards, just your tough, your 4 or 5 yards here or there, just something different from your starter in Kelsey.
yep,
I wouldn't be mad if you made that
yeah.
argument.
I could definitely see that point. Our next one, this one is going to go little bit modern day, old school. Sean Taylor, Ed Reed, or Brian Dawkins. PJ, who do you have?
Hmm. So this one's kind of tough for me because I like Sean Taylor, but I don't like Sean Taylor as much as other people do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also tough because I went to school with the guys who killed him, and
Disclaimer.
yeah, it wasn't me. Sean Taylor was from that the area where we grew up. Um, so I do have loyalty there, but he's more of a thumper. He's like a Harry the Hitman, but without Harry's coverage skills or with less coverage skills.
Mm.
So I'm actually going to. You said Dawkins and
Ed Reed.
Ed Reed. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start Reed, bench Dawkins. Cut Taylor sounds bad. Cut Taylor, rest in peace.
Sheesh. Loyalty. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's loyalty there if you're cutting the guy, but Caleb, who you got, man? Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, Brian Dawkins.
This is gonna be a hard one because I feel like this is like gonna be a recency bias thing, but
What I feel like you're about to say, Brian
like
Dawkins.
just what right. I guess I would probably start Reed. I guess I would say bench Taylor and cut Dawkins. Just
Hey.
just based on what I can remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with this one, I'd really have to look into it in order to make like an informed decision because, I mean, safety is such a like an important position in the NFL, but it's not one that I really have a good eye for, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So like from what I can remember, like I'm comfortable with my pick, but
Yeah, as far
You
as who
know,
to start.
I wouldn't have anybody take my word for it, basically. Not on this one.
Yeah, it's for me, I'm agree with all of you on the Ed Reed because of the simple fact the guy's coverage is just out of this world. But it's not only that, Ed Reed can hit too. Like I've seen the guy read screens, running back in the flat, come up, make a play, make a hit.
Ed Reed is also really, really intelligent. He was one
Yeah,
of those guys that like Brady and Manning feared, and they had to
yeah,
like really prepare for,
yep,
which which really makes a difference. Like the Vikings know this. Uh, with with a veteran in your secondary, it really affects how the other guys play too. So I think just having a
yeah.
really intelligent leader like Ed Reed automatically boosts everyone else on your defense.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to start Ed Reed. I'm going to bench Sean Taylor. I feel like Sean Taylor, I feel like his coverage could be great, not like that of an Ed Reed, but still be great. With a guy like Ed Reed being there, to me, Brian Dawkins, you really can't convince me that he just wasn't a linebacker. I don't know. Like, I mean, and I get, what we've been saying as far as kind of skill set, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor might kind of mirror each other. Obviously, Ed Reed again, the better cover guy. But I don't know. I mean, Brian Dawkins, all I know is just the hitting, but I can get that from Ed Reed and Sean Taylor too.
So I just looked it up just for giggles on the NFL's top 32 safeties of all time. They've got Ed Reed at 4, which I think is egregious and way too low. But guess who's number 5 right behind him? Brian Dawkins. I I think because you guys are young, you're not remembering how Brian Dawkins was on the field, but Brian Dawkins was
I just remember more of the
basically,
hitter, Brian Dawkins.
yeah, but he's basically, so remember how I
Anyways,
said Sean Taylor was Harry the Hitman, but without the cover skills?
yeah.
Brian Dawkins was Harry the Hitman. A great hitter, but he also had the coverage skills. 9 Pro Bowls, first team All Pro 4 times.
Hmm.
Obviously, Sean Taylor didn't get to live out the full career, but
Yeah.
in that short time, he's not better than Brian Dawkins.
I got you. Moving on to our next one. Let's go with linebacker. Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis, or Bobby Wagner. I'm gonna start on this one. I'm going to start Ray Lewis. Um, just because, just based off what I've seen, and I feel like Patrick Willis is also really good in his right, but I mean to me, Ray Lewis, sideline to sideline, he could drop back in coverage, really good run defender. I'm gonna start Ray Lewis. I'm going to bench Bobby Wagner, and I'm gonna cut Patrick Willis. Um, and it was kind of like I feel like Patrick Willis is really good, but I feel like Bobby's just a tad bit better, just a tad bit better. Maybe even, I mean, you guys may disagree that he's a lot better than Patrick Willis, but I'm a bench Bobby Wagner, start Ray, and cut Patrick Willis. Um, Caleb, who you got? Who are you starting, cutting, and benching?
Well, I'm gonna have to, no matter what, start Ray Lewis because, like, and this is more of like not even football related. It's just because, well, not on the field, but I mean, just like the energy that he gave to his team was so positive.
Yeah.
And even though I don't even remember much about what Ray Lewis did in the last Super Bowl he won before he retired. I remember like seeing him with his team, getting them hyped. And it was really hard to imagine them losing that game, even though I was rooting for the 49ers in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, and between Patrick Lewis or Patrick Willis and Bobby Wagner, I mean, like it's close, so I almost have to give it. I can't remember. I guess I can't remember anything Wagner did specifically in the Super Bowl he was part of the Seahawks for, but I guess that would give me the edge over him. I just know Ray Lewis is just kind of on a level on his own.
So you're
compared
benching.
to those two. So I guess I would bench Wagner and cut Willis then.
Okay, so you're in agreement. PJ, what do you got for us, man?
I'm with you here, Matt. I'm gonna start Ray Lewis, top 5 linebacker of all time. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bench Bobby Wagner and cut Willis. I don't think Willis is a worse linebacker.
Yeah.
I think Willis is a top 5 linebacker for the last maybe decade, easily. The only reason I would go Wagner is because Wagner's a better coverage guy.
Yeah.
I feel like Willis and Lewis overlap so much that if you had a thumper like Ray Lewis and you needed someone, I mean, Bobby Wagner's a hitter too, but he definitely has better coverage skills than Pat Willis. That's someone that you'd want on your bench and passing downs, bring him out on the team, and you got the confidence. So yeah, I'm with you, Matt.
Man, look at that. We all agreed on one.
No, we didn't. Caleb cut Wagner.
Did you cut Wagner?
No, I benched Willis.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I cut.
He cut
This is a hard
Willis.
one between bench and cut. It feels like the same thing, but
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, you cut Willis?
just
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I cut Willis and benched Wagner.
Okay,
Alright.
cool. We're all in agreement for the first time, and we're only halfway through, so that's a plus. Our next one, I feel like this one's gonna be pretty easy too. Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman, Champ Bailey.
I feel like that's not as easy, and that's gonna be
Yeah, I feel like
there's gonna be a recency bias because you guys
Yeah.
have seen a lot of the guys recently. Let
I'm gonna start.
me just go super quick.
Okay, you go ahead.
All right, go on.
I want Darrelle Revis. To me, and this is not a shot at the guys before, in the 90s. Obviously, there's so many great corners. It's not a shot at those guys. I want Darrelle Revis. To me, he's the silent assassin. He's not really talking trash to you like maybe a Deion Sanders, Jalen Ramsey, like the guys nowadays. But the difference between me and Sherman, Revis followed you no matter where you went. Sherman plays a side. And don't get me wrong, Sherman is really good playing that side. We remember, Crabtree and his rant afterwards, don't ever disrespect me, blah, blah, blah. We get all that, LOB. But I want Revis because of the simple fact, I want a guy who, no matter where you go, he goes with you. And I feel like there's not a lot of corners like that nowadays. You protect left side, I'm going to take this side. So I'm going to start Revis. I will probably... This one, I'm gonna go based off just what I've seen. Like when I really started getting into football, like Champ Bailey, I feel was on the outskirt of his career. So unfortunately, I'm gonna cut Bailey and I'm gonna bench Richard Sherman. What do you got for us, PJ?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was saying. It's recency bias. To cut Champ Bailey shows you don't know football. I'm just gonna say that way. I'm just gonna be aggressive with it. Definitely start Champ Bailey. Here's why. I think no. All right. In those three, to me, Sherman's out. He's a great corner. He doesn't line up with those two in any planet. So for me, Sherman's cut right off the bat. I think the argument comes down to Champ Bailey versus Darrelle Revis. For me, it's all about turnovers. Champ Bailey was a turnover machine. He generated turnovers. I looked it up. Revis 29 career interceptions. Champ Bailey 52. Revis 6 forced fumbles. Bailey 7. So that's 59 turnovers for Champ Bailey versus 35. That's 16 more. I'm gonna go with turnovers. I'm gonna go with the ball hawk, someone who can get me the ball more often. So I'm gonna start Champ. But again, cornerback is a position where you never have one on the field. So
Yeah,
benching Revis means you have someone on the other side.
yeah.
So I'm going Champ Bailey as my wide receiver one. I mean, my cornerback one, Darrell Revis,
Corner two.
and Sherman's gone.
Sherman's gone. Yeah, he can't play slot, man. Caleb, what do you got for us?
I'm gonna go with I would start Darrell Revis and I would bench Champ Bailey and I would cut Sherman. I mean, no, like, I mean, Sherman's a great guy to have on your team because he hypes your team. Like every team you're gonna play is going to hate him, but like, you know, like PJ said, he doesn't match up with the other two. And then Darrell Revis, I just remember more, so that's the only reason I'd edge him out. But I'd rather have both of them on my team, even though, you know, Sherman would be a great consolation prize because you'll hype your team up.
Yeah.
He gets under the other team's skin, especially in his earlier years. So,
Yeah, his
I
trash
mean,
talking is
yeah.
is pretty good. I wouldn't call it elite, but I've heard a lot of sound bites of him being mic'd up. I'm a big fan. A big fan of this trash talk from Mr. Sherman.
I
I
forgot to
can
mention
respect
one more
that.
thing.
Yeah,
I
go
forgot
ahead.
to mention one more thing. Champ Bailey, 6 foot. What's his 40 yard? 4.28.
Oh wow.
That's, come on. He's not getting burnt. He's not getting burnt by anyone, and the chances are he's picking you off.
Sheesh. I'm still gonna
Put some
cut him though.
respect.
I gotta
Put
keep
some.
it. I gotta keep
Put,
it how it is. I can't change it. Sorry,
put some
man.
respect on Champ Bailey's name.
He does need respect. So maybe next start cut bench, I'll give him some respect.
But you cut him. You didn't even bench him.
I know, and I'm gonna stick with that. Moving on, gentlemen.
No, I can't. He holds the record.
Julio.
He holds the NFL record for most passes defense with 203.
Again, bro, I gotta
Come
go
on,
with
man.
what I've seen on this one. Now, I'm not saying I have to go with that on everyone because obviously I didn't see Jerry Rice play, but I've been standing on the table for Rice as greatest receiver of all time. I gotta stick with it. Sorry, champ. I know you're listening to the show. Don't DM me, bro. All right.
Champ Bailey, we love you. Send me a jersey.
I mean, send PJ a jersey. Send Caleb a jersey. He also didn't cut you, but he didn't start you either, though, champ. So just realize that. We're going to keep it into today's NFL. Now, remember, these players are healthy and they're in their primes. Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams. Caleb, start us off.
I'm gonna have to give DeAndre Hopkins some love because you know he's out here in the valley with me.
Okay,
You know, I
okay.
was
It's nothing wrong with
the
that.
biggest steal probably ever. You know, I loved seeing the memes like, you know, of the steal they pulled off from the Texans to get him.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're starting DeAndre, starting D Hop.
So, and
oof, no, this is hard.
I'm gonna have to go with bench Jones and cut Adams then.
Cutting Devontae Adams.
I mean, it's really hard because you know I feel like with these three, it's kind of like splitting hairs. I'm only going with bias on this one. They're all, you know, elite.
Yeah, no, they are. Man, this one
I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, no,
I'll
that's
live
good.
with the pick.
This one I kind of went back and forth. So I'm going to say out the I'm going to tell you who I'm cutting. I'm cutting D Hop. I'm going to start Julio. I'm going to start Julio now because of the simple fact he's healthy, he's in his prime. And just because of what we've seen, I mean, had the Falcons won the Super Bowl, you can't not convince me that Julio wasn't going to win MVP, Super Bowl MVP, just based off his body of work. I'm gonna start Julio. I'm gonna bench Devontae Adams. I absolutely love Devontae Adams. Just the route running, man, is just at his size. Oh my gosh, it's crisp. It's so crisp. And it's nothing against D Hop. It's not anything that he doesn't do specifically that Adams does better, so to speak. I'm just a bigger Devontae Adams fan. So that's who I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with Julio. I'm gonna bench Devontae Adams, and I'm gonna cut D Hop. So PJ, who you got for us?
Wow, so we all disagree here. Um, I'm starting Devontae. Uh, I feel like don't tell Jordan this. Please don't
Oh,
tell any Packers
Jordan,
fan
we know
this.
you're listening, man.
Devontae might be the best wide receiver in the NFL. Um,
Oh, I think he
I'd
is
say
today. Yeah,
I'd say he's top two. You could give a solid case for number one.
yeah.
Um, I watch route running videos of his route running. He's making
It's
elite
crazy.
cornerbacks look silly. Um, he's starting for me no matter what. Um, and then I'm gonna bench Hop. Actually, I'm gonna start Devontae. I'm gonna bench Hop. Uh, The reason is, um, I feel like I feel like Hop and Julio are more similar than Hop and Devontae. Um, and I would rather take Hop because just for the same reason I actually took Megatron. How many times have we seen Hop make ridiculous catches when he's double, triple team between the legs, through the defender's arms? The Hail Murray that he had this past season, he was triple team. He had two guys in the safety over top of him, and he did it. I'm gonna have a guy like that on my team, so I'm gonna start Devontae, best route runner in the league right now, and bench Hop.
Yeah, I'm definitely there with you on the Devontae Adams as the best receiver in the game right now, Train. The only reason I went Julio is because he's the fastest. Ran a 4.39 40. Devontae and DeAndre's times are very similar. They're literally 1 second apart. DeAndre ran the Hopkins ran a 4.57. Adams ran a 4.56. So they're kind of overlapping. And I got to go with the
Hopkins
better.
doesn't Hopkins
It
doesn't
doesn't.
drop though.
Yeah, he
Like yeah,
doesn't.
he's not the fastest, but he doesn't drop anything, man.
No, he doesn't. But I need a route runner, like a
Oh
very
yeah, you got Devontae.
yeah. So
Devontae
that's
is easily the crispest route runner.
yeah,
You got the crispest route runner and the surest hands.
yeah. So that's why I went Julio. I went Julio as my number one, and because this is him in the prime, in his prime. Him in his prime, I feel he's definitely the number one receiver in the league, followed by Devontae. So, and then I would go D Hop 3, but that's just me. Um, Two more left. We're going to go into the backfield, gentlemen. Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson, or LaDainian Tomlinson. PJ's over there smirking. We're going to let him start.
I really like this one until you got to that last name, and that really messed me up
Yeah, man.
because I'm actually gonna have to disrespect Barry Sanders here, and I feel bad for that. Um, Start AP. To me, he's a top 5 running back of all time.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at him now towards the end of his career and forget how insane he was at the beginning of his career. No one matched his power and speed. So for me, he's clear number one. The only reason I picked LT over Barry, you could make an argument that Barry was a better running back than both of them. So
Yeah.
I don't mean to disrespect Barry. The only reason I picked LT to bench again would solely be that LT was the receiving back. He changed the game.
Mhm.
He made it where you wanted a running back who could catch. So
Yeah.
it would be nice to have an elite receiving back on your team. On the bench, third down passing, because AP doesn't catch. Third down
Yeah.
passing down, you could pull AP off, put LT on there, and he was an elite runner too. So just because you put LT on the field doesn't mean he can't gash you for 50 yards either. So
Yeah.
I think that too there you've got one of the best, fastest, hardest running backs, and one of the best catchers. Sorry, Barry.
Sorry, Barry. Don't go stalking PJ. Caleb, who do you have, man? Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson, LT.
This is hard
No, I'm
because
sorry
I
we didn't
like don't.
include Josh Jacobs.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's really hard because like I don't really have any memories of Barry Sanders, obviously.
Mhm.
LaDainian Tomlinson, he had the really cool Nike Zoom commercial. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was a hit with me back in 07 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He was awesome. But like Adrian Peterson, I just remember like actually putting the Vikings on his back some games. Like I remember that.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have to put him like with a slight edge over LT. And then I guess I gotta cut Sanders just because I don't really know enough about him, unfortunately. So
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, looks like we agree again. I got to start AP because I don't care. You can't catch AP. You're a man amongst boys. It's just that simple. Stack the box. Who cares? He's gonna run somebody over and he's off to the crib. LT, I agree with you. Although the trend might have started with Barry, as far as receiving backs, LT definitely brought more light to it in today's pass happy league. And like PJ mentioned, I don't need Adrian Peterson to catch. If I got to take him off the field on third downs, that's fine. Or I can keep him on there and I can put LT in the slot from time to time. So I'm perfectly cool with that as well. I agree with you also. I was about to call you Jake. Caleb. Barry was, I feel, was really good in the 90s, but it was like, man, we were like what, 2, 3. So I can't I can't just go based off of that. So, and it sucks because I mean Barry was the Detroit Lions, but I got to go with start AP, will bench LT, and Sanders gets the cut.
Sorry, Barry Sanders, if you're listening in, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Send me a jersey.
Oh, but you're a Vikings fan. Dang. I don't know if you want to. Oof, that's
I
tough
mean,
right there.
I'm a Barry fan. Was Barry even a Lions fan? And he was on the team?
It's true. He did retire early. Also, what? Oh man, we have a
It's like
theme.
Megatron.
Yeah, these Lions
They,
greats retiring early. Sheesh.
LaDainian Tomlinson too. I mean,
They probably
we're
talk.
just like on the topic we're on. Like he retired at like 31 as well. So I don't know. It was kind of like a smaller sample size than
Yeah.
you'd hope for.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So our last one, and we're going to stay in the backfield, but we're going to come to today's new school era. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. Caleb, take it away.
Could you come back to me on that?
I mean, we can if you want me to.
That would be good.
Okay.
I gotta think about it.
PJ, you ready or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Again, no disrespect to Christian McCaffrey. Send me a jersey. But I'm gonna cut him. I'm gonna cut him only because I think Derrick Henry is a better runner than McCaffrey, and I think Kamara is arguably a better receiver than him. So if I can have both of those two, it kind of makes McCaffrey expendable. So I'm gonna go start Henry, bench Kamara, cut C-Mac, and I can do the same thing. Third down, pull Henry off, put Kamara on.
Yeah. I'm also going to agree with you. It really came down to Kamara and McCaffrey. To me, it was Henry hands down as my starter. If I can get a guy to give me a mean stiff arm and gash a defense for 60 yards afterwards, sign me up. To me, the only difference between McCaffrey and Kamara is probably, you could maybe say McCaffrey's a little bit shiftier than Kamara, just a little bit. But to me, Kamara might be faster. And I feel like the hands are probably a lot better. So And like we talked about with LT being that receiving threat, Kamara is definitely that receiving threat for us. And he's shown it with the Saints, lined up different positions, not just running back. So start Henry, bench Kamara, cut McCaffrey. Caleb, it is now time. Who you got?
My dog
It's
is
hard for
struggling.
this one because with, I mean, like, McCaffrey, I'm like trying to think like when the last time I saw him play was, or just because
Yeah, he was
the
hurt for
Panthers
the most
haven't
part.
really been
Yeah.
the greatest, as of late, within the
Mhm.
past few years. I mean, like from what I, if I'm gonna have to rate them, it would almost go from like the best team to the worst team. So I would have to pick, I would start Kamara, and bench Henry, and cut McCaffrey. And
Okay.
that probably might not be the fairest assessment because that's pretty much best team to worst team, even though I guess Saints and between New Orleans and Tennessee, it's probably like debatable who's better since they're
Mhm.
kind of like a first round exit playoff team. And coming down to the running backs, I guess I would just that would be the only
Yeah, the
edge.
only
I
reason
guess I
I
give
couldn't
Kamara.
give Kamara the edge is because Kamara splits a lot of his carries. So, and it's not that I don't think he can carry the load. I do think he can. For some reason, the Saints just don't. I know for a fact Derrick Henry can carry the load, and then some. Can play even quarterback if you need to on a direct snap type stuff. So that's where I'm at. But at least we agree on the McCaffrey cut. Man, sorry McCaffrey. But hey, send PJ.
We're big fans.
Yeah, man. We're
Send me a
big
jersey.
fans. Send us a jersey. Come on the show. But that'll do it for our start cut bench. You guys let us know down in the comments who you are starting, who you're cutting, who you're benching. Again, you will see these on Instagram. So that way you guys can really think through. Let us know. We love when you guys interact with us. We plan to do more stuff like this kind of going forward with different players, so to speak. So be on the lookout for those, and also be on the lookout for this to hit IGTV sometime next week as well. But gentlemen, we're at a good stopping point to go ahead and have a halftime break. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Not only is it free, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we are back. We thank our sponsor, Anchor, this week for the ad. You guys ever interested in creating a podcast, make sure to start it with Anchor. That's who we've started our journey with. And it's definitely been a very smooth one. So make sure to go to anchor.fm to start your podcast journey today.
But not a sports podcast though, because you
Yeah,
already
not a
got
sports
one to
call.
listen to.
That's why you're listening
You already
to.
got one to listen to. There's no point.
Yeah, just do something else, be a movie podcast. We'll listen to that. But definitely not sports podcasts. That's what the regular guys are here for. But moving on to our theme again of start, cut, bench. We're going to go to the NBA. And this one might get a little bit more difficult. There's a lot of good ones that you could go with. I have from best shooters to ever hit the hardwood to best big men to best young talent now. So just a little bit to whet your appetites. I know Caleb's ready for this one. So we're going to start there with Caleb. And we're going to start with the young talent. Now, I feel like Caleb, I already know where you're going to go with this. I already know where I'm going to go with this. And I already feel like I know where PJ is going to go with this. Start, cut, bench, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. What you got, Caleb? Now, I do realize what jersey you're wearing
This
right
is
now, man.
really hard. This is not a maybe at the end of the show you guys can guess whose jersey this is, because it is not who you probably think it is. But anyways, I think I'm gonna have to go
Crowder
with
jersey?
It is not a Crowder jersey, but that was on the table. But so
it's Aiden.
Is it Nader?
It's not. It is Nader, but it is not. I'm gonna have to go with, like, if this is, my team, if I'm the GM, I'm the president of basketball operations, I have to go. I'm gonna have to go with start Tatum, bench Booker, and cut Mitchell. And this is mostly due to building a team around.
Crying.
Because I think you could plug Mitchell into more teams and it just fit.
Mm-hmm.
But like a large wing, like what Tatum's 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah.
He can play power forward. He can play small forward. He's really versatile. And then Booker, the only advantage I'd give him over Mitchell is that he scores at like the same rate, but he's just bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't twist his ankle as much, I guess. I mean, I probably like Mitchell more. I mean, like,
yeah,
when Hayward left Utah and he came in and just took over the team and was winning right away. But I don't know, between those two, it's really hard. But I would pick Tatum over both of them just because, of sheer size and ability.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to agree with you. I'm going to start Jason Tatum. I'm going to bench Booker, and I'm going to cut Mitchell. I agree with you 100%. It's the size of Jason Tatum for me that makes him really attracting as my starter. Like you mentioned, he can play the 3 or the 4 if we want to go small ball or pace and space, so to speak. And to have a guy like Booker coming off as that relentless 6-man scorer, almost Lou Will type, if not better, maybe, if you will. So I'll definitely take that. And they are bigger. It's no knock on Donovan Mitchell. I feel like he's definitely Dwayne Wade 2.0. Definitely a better 3-point shooter than Wade was. So, but it's just the size factor. So I got to go Booker as my bench, and I'm gonna go Jason Tatum as my starter. PJ, what you got for us?
I'm leaving the show.
Oh,
That's
no!
I can't believe you all said cut Mitchell. But I could see it though in that lineup. I'm actually going the opposite here.
Oh no! Oh no! I feel like you're about to say you're about to cut Jason Tatum.
I'm gonna cut Tatum. I'm gonna start.
Oh no!
I'm gonna start Mitchell, bench Book, cut Tatum. Here's why. Here's why. Only if we're talking about a GM standpoint and I'm building a full squad, Tatum is elite. Could I get a better small forward? Could I get a better power forward? I think so. I think there are more elite small forwards that I could get than there would be shooting guards. I feel like there's not many shooting guards above Mitchell and Book. Like currently, if we're talking this current NFL, I don't think there's many shooting guards above Mitchell and Booker. So I would probably start Mitchell, but I start him at or maybe I'll put Booker at the point. I don't know. And put Mitchell at guard because he's a better shooter, in my opinion.
You got a bench one, dog.
I mean, they're both shooting guards, so I would bench one and just bring them on.
Yeah, I mean,
I can still bring them on and play the 1 or 2. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, start Mitchell, bench Booker, cut Tatum. I do think Tatum is a better player than Mitchell. You could argue maybe even than Book. But I feel like you can get a more elite small forward.
Yeah, the reason I gave Tatum the nod is I feel like he's the better. I feel like he's kind of underrated defensively, but I'm not saying he's like locked down. He's gonna clamp whoever. I just feel like he's better than Booker defensively, and he can score. Like Booker can definitely score. Booker would definitely be a willing defender, but I mean, there's a reason on picks that the other team is looking for Booker. They want to get him to foul trouble. So
Yeah, I just feel like if I'm building a team, right, and I'm filling out the positions, and I get to small forward, I'm not gonna pass over KD or LeBron in their prime for Jason Tatum.
I got you.
I feel like you can fill that. I mean, yeah, there are better shooting guards than Mitchell and Booker, but
Mhm.
I feel like Tatum would be even lower down the list of small forwards than both Booker and Mitchell would be for shooting guards.
It's funny you mentioned Kevin Durant. That's exactly where we're headed next. And we'll start with you, PJ. We have Kevin Durant. We're going to stay in the small forward area position. Kevin Durant, Larry Bird, LeBron James.
See, I'm the old head here, all right?
Yeah, you're
But
literally the only one who can speak for Larry.
I'm the old head, and I so prefer old school basketball, and I so much lean towards old school basketball.
I feel a butt coming.
But no disrespect to Larry Bird, sent me a jersey. He's getting cut. The only reason is
Man.
I don't think anyone can bench or can cut KD in their right mind. He's too dominant. And the same thing for Braun. I mean, I feel like as blasphemous as this is, you could probably interchange Braun and Bird and still have the same amount of success. You wouldn't have the same player, but I feel like
Yeah,
you still have the same amount of success.
yeah,
Um, but I would start KD, bench Braun, and cut Bird.
I got you.
I, I,
Caleb?
I need that three. I need
Yeah,
that three that KD provide. He's got
Yeah.
a full game.
yeah.
I'm
I'll give you that. Caleb, where you going with?
It's hard because I'm not the biggest fan of KD's off the court antics, but like on the court, I mean, he's like one of those players that you plug into any team
Mhm.
and it's just automatic offense. Like
Yeah.
LeBron is dominant, but he almost has to be kind of a point forward, almost large point guard, Barry Johnson, or what am I saying? Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson type player, whereas KD can just play small forward on any team, and that's what they did in Golden State with him. They upgraded Harrison Barnes to KD, and it was the most dominant thing we've probably ever seen.
Yeah.
And then I would bench LeBron, and I would cut Larry Bird like in this case, but it wouldn't be that decisively, only because his game, you could almost argue like if he played in this era, he would have been even better just because he was a good 3-point shooter when that wasn't
And how much space you are
nearly
given now.
as heavily focused on.
Yeah.
So he could have been, as good a shooter as Klay Thompson, but could do a lot more. So
Yeah. Man, I didn't think we would all agree this early. I'm starting Durant. I'm sorry. These playoffs, this man has shown me. I mean, if you guys, listened to the pod last week, I came out and said I think Durant's the best scorer ever, just based off what he's given you, and shown you this year. Obviously Kevin wishes he wore the right size shoe and maybe the three would have counted and they would be playing right now. But hey, sucks to suck, man. Wear the right size. I'm gonna start Kevin Durant and I'm gonna bench LeBron. I like the factor of LeBron coming on, 6-man and playing that point forward role, like you mentioned. And when I do play them in, the spurts together, LeBron coming off the bench, Durant obviously still going to be able to move without the ball freely, while LeBron can play that in that point guard role. And your lineup with those two is just, it's through the roof. And I agree with you, Caleb. I feel like Larry Bird was ahead of his time. Still great player. Definitely would have been a lot better in today's era of basketball. But Durant hits the three. Durant hits everything: mid-range, drive, whatever, step back, turn around, whatever you need. He's just that good. So that's who I'm gonna go with. It was tough. A lot of, I really wanted to go LeBron just because, it's my favorite player, but I can't have both. But I want to start Durant just because I feel he's definitely the best scorer to ever play. 7-footer who can get his wherever. So moving on to the big man, Shaq, Kareem, Wilt. Now, these are a little difficult because of the simple fact only one person maybe seen Kareem play here, and that's probably PJ. I doubt he saw Wilt play. I've never seen either of them play besides Shaq. So it's going to be easy for me. I'm going to start Shaq, obviously. And I'm going to bench Kareem. And I'm going to cut Wilt just because I know nothing about Wilt at all. And I feel like Kareem is probably your second best big man. Most of you can make the argument he's number one. So that's where I'm going to go. Start Shaq, bench Kareem, cut Wilt. What do you got, PJ?
Yeah, same. Shaq changed the way the big man position was played. Um, you used to have your big men that all looked like Wilt and Kareem, right? Like
Yeah.
tall and lanky, but not like crazy bulky. Um, after after Shaq, all your big men. I mean, I guess you could say Olajuwon too was big, but like they called him the Diesel for a reason, right? Like he
Yeah.
changed what it was to take up the paint. Yeah, I think he's unmatched. I do think Kareem was smoother, was a better um, all around shooter and
Finesse.
scorer. Yeah, was
Yeah.
way more finesse. So yeah, so I would do the same thing. I would start Shaq, bench Kareem, cut Wilt, only because I don't. Same thing. I feel bad. I don't know anything
Yeah.
about Wilt Chamberlain's game. I know
Same.
he's one of the best, but he was 7-1. He was playing when there was no goaltend. That Joker probably had a ton of like offensive interference and like putbacks that he probably got counted for. Yeah.
And Caleb, who you got, man?
I think we're all in agreement again. I'm gonna have to go with Shaq because of
Oof,
pure
2 for 2 so
dominance.
far.
Pure dominance.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched him play and watched him be dominant. I even got to see him be the second best player with Wade, which was really cool. Kareem, I also know, was extremely dominant in his own right. It was just finesse, as PJ brought out. And what's interesting about his signature move, the sky hook, like he could probably be doing that in today's NBA, like with how skilled he was at it, and still be really good at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the pure dominance of Shaq, and then Will. I mean, it's the same story. Everyone says, I'm not the first one to say this. That you make the argument. Will played in the NBA like against a bunch of plumbers or whatever, like
Yeah.
and dominated. And if you threw him in today's game, it would probably be pretty sloppy. Whereas Kareem I would almost feel like would fit pretty nicely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And again, it's just because we're of our age, can't really just, and it's no shot at Will, it's just we never seen you play, man. So send us some footage. We know you listen, Will, so we can maybe boost you up. Next one. Now this one's gonna get a little spicy, I feel. What was it? Episode 2? Episode 1. Goat Talk. I think it was episode 2. Start
Wait a minute.
cut.
If anyone in their right
Go
mind
ahead.
says cut Jordan, I'm ending the show.
Why, man?
What you got, Matt?
All right. So start, cut, bench. I'm gonna let Caleb go first. Who you got?
For who? You didn't say nobody.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Kobe, Jordan, LeBron.
This is actually easy
I mean,
for me. I want to
yeah.
see what Caleb has to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think I watched, Kobe say the same thing when he went on, what was the James Corden show or whatever, and he ranked himself first, then Jordan, then LeBron. So I would do the same, except I'd put Jordan ahead of Kobe. They're all great. It's just like I would trust Kobe with the ball in his hands at the end of a game, more than anyone other than Jordan. So that's the reason I'd rank them that way.
All right, PJ.
Yeah, so this isn't an indication of who I think is best. This is just start cut start cut bench. And I would I'll keep it simple. Jordan start Jordan, bench LeBron, cut Kobe. I feel bad cutting all the dead people. Kobe
I didn't see that coming.
Kobe's a Jordan clone. They're too there's too much overlap. Although, like Caleb said, I don't know, maybe I do trust Kobe a little bit more in a game-winning situation than Jordan even. Kobe had that mentality, but I feel like he got that from Jordan. I feel like
Yeah.
Mamba mentality is really Jordan mentality, but just rebranded.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Jordan, LeBron, cut Kobe. Rest in peace, Kobe. Sorry. Vanessa, send me a jersey.
That's the real theme of this show is whoever we cut send us a jersey. But I'm going to also cut Kobe. And I couldn't bench LeBron again. So I'm going to start LeBron. I'm going to bench Jordan and cut Kobe. I agree. It's really the same player. There's probably a tad bit difference in Jordan and Kobe. And like you guys mentioned, probably just the late game stuff. But I'm going to start LeBron. I'm going to bench Jordan. Let me get that pure, scorer. Good, also great defender. And I'm sorry, Kobe, but that feels so wrong to say. I'm not going to lie. That feels so wrong to say. That one especially. But we kind of almost agreed. Wait, who did you bench, Caleb? You benched Bron?
I benched Kobe and cut Bron.
You cut Bron. Okay. I thought we had some bit
I mean, I understand, like, if you're thinking on the same team, but
yeah,
I'm just thinking of kind of ranking them from, like, how I'd value their presence on the court, like, in a high leverage situation.
I got you. Yeah, it's a little tough, and again, it does suck to cut Kobe. Next one, we're gonna go ankle breakers. Kyrie, Allen Iverson, Jamal Crawford. PJ, who you
got? Crawford's out for me. I don't think he matches up with Kyrie's handles. And
now remember, they are healthy.
I feel like this is also a kind of a clone situation because I feel like the argument could be made that Kyrie is an AI clone. And I feel like AI influenced so much of how people played. Like he had insane handles. Oh, man. It feels crazy to do this, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start Kyrie, bench AI, cut Crawford. The only reason I feel like Kyrie gets the edge over AI. I feel like AI was more like consistently great
Mhm.
like this. I feel like when Kyrie is unstoppable at scoring, he's unstoppable at scoring.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you. My reason for why I gave Kyrie the start is I feel like Kyrie's a better 3-point shooter. Um, and like you mentioned, I feel like Kyrie gets hot. This guy could probably drop 10, 15 points, in a good 1 to 2 minute span. And I couldn't really find any other ankle breaker. Jamal Crawford came to mind. So for him, it was kind of an easy cut. Jamal Crawford, don't send me a jersey. I'm good, bro.
No, send me this jersey, Crawford.
Yeah, I don't need a Jamal Crawford jersey. So yeah, I'm a bench AI. I'm gonna start Kyrie. I do agree with you. Also, it's pretty much a clone scenario. But fully healthy, yeah, I'll take Kyrie. So, Caleb, what do you got?
I'll start it off with giving Crawford his dues because like if we're going on like just on a niche or like
Yeah.
specialty situation, Jamal Crawford maybe best handles ever. Like, but not necessarily like in a basketball game. Like if he was just
Mm.
gonna show you his handles in your backyard, I mean, it's amazing. It doesn't it's like unreal.
Mm.
But in a game, I'm gonna have to, pick Kyrie first, AI set, start Kyrie,
Mm.
bench AI, and then cut Crawford.
Hey.
Kind of for the reasons PJ mentioned. I feel like, especially like if we were talking about ankle breakers, like Allen Iverson had like the nastiest crossover. Like in my brain, I'm not like thinking of as many, like they're not as iconic Kyrie's crossovers versus
Yeah.
AI's, but he has like closer to Jamal Crawford handles
Mm-hmm.
and then, scores at an elite level. So he kind of has the best of both of them, like in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one. Man, 3 for 3. All right. So this time we're going to move to the point guard position. Magic, Isaiah Thomas. No, not Mighty Mouse Isaiah Thomas. Detroit Pistons Isaiah Thomas, and CP3. Now this is CP3. You could probably say CP3 in the days of New Orleans, like his last couple years, entering into the Clippers. CP3. I feel like that was like his legit prime of how good he was. Caleb, start us off. Magic, Isaiah, CP3.
As I'm gonna have to start Magic just as a player because I mean the guy could play center
Yeah.
and be elite at that. Um, I feel pound for pound like Chris Paul is the best point guard ever. I mean, and it's funny that you mentioned like old CP3 because Game 6 Chris Paul is gonna be the Chris Paul I probably remember most of my life now.
Yeah.
Game
40
6
piece.
2 days ago. I mean, that was amazing. And Isaiah Thomas, obviously also one of the best, but
Mm-hmm.
out of these three, I'm gonna have to start Magic, bench CP3, and cut Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there also. Magic I feel like he defined the Showtime Lakers. Just the flashiness, the passes, and how big he was. I feel like 6'7", 6'8" guys, he made them want to play point guard and show that they could do it. So I'm going to start with Magic. I'm going to bench Chris Paul. And I'm sorry, Isaiah. I'm going to have to cut you. Don't fight me, please. But I'm going to have to cut you, bro. PJ, what do you got for us?
Same. We agree. Start Magic. I think the case could be made that he's a top 5, top 3 point guard
Yeah,
of all time.
I say top 3.
Yeah. Um, You know, yeah, I think that's easy. It did come down to CP3 versus Isaiah Thomas for me. The only reason I picked CP3, I feel like Isaiah Thomas played on Pistons teams that were arguably way better. CP3 has had great teams. But that Pistons team was going up against George's Bulls, you know, like and won. You know, I feel like you could argue that they were better than any team that CP3 played on. Um, so did that kind of boost Isaiah Thomas up a little bit? I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did. So yeah, I'm gonna give the slight edge to CP3. So I'm gonna start Magic, bench CP3, cut Isaiah. You met the criteria, but
Yeah.
you weren't selected. Send me a jersey.
Send him a jersey, Isaiah. Send him a jersey. Moving on to the big men. Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Karl Malone.
Oh, let me guess. Caleb's start here. Timmy D all day. Tim Duncan cut everyone else. I'm Tim Duncan again.
Caleb, you can go ahead and start. Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Karl Malone.
I'm gonna be so salty with this one. I won't lie. So obviously Tim Duncan is my favorite player of all time. You guys knew that growing up with me. You know, the guy was, you could argue he was one of like the best defensive players, but we don't really think about it because he was, you know, dominant in like such in, you know, undominant way. I think I heard somebody say once that he would, you know, he'd block somebody's shot and like the expression on his face was like thinking about the pair of shorts he was about to buy from Kohl's. Whereas, you know, Kevin Garnett was, you know, he would do that as well. But I mean, he was really aggressive, but I mean, in a way that would fire up his team, like unlike anything, almost at Ray Lewis level, an elite trash talker. And then, so I would bench Garnett and I'd send Karl Malone to jail where he belongs.
Oh no.
Dang
it. All right, PJ, what do you got, man?
I don't like that at all. Mailman, send me a jersey, man. So I'm a big Jazz fan. I personally don't like Karl Malone's personality at all. Like I find him irritating. So I can agree with Caleb. However, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off. Well, let's just do it. Let's just make Caleb upset.
No.
Start Karl, bench Garnett.
Oh no, he's
cut
cutting
Timmy.
D.
Cut Timmy. Here's the only thing. So you mentioned Tim Duncan's, you know, defense. I mean, I guess he was a good defender, but that's not the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
I felt like of the three of them, if you were to say defense, Garnett came to mind. And I actually looked it up. He's only one of five NBA players all time to win both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. I feel like that shows you just how elite he was on offense and defense. I don't think you can cut him based on that. So then I feel like Garnett and Timmy are so similar. You could cut either or. I do think Tim Duncan them, but if I'm building a squad, I would keep Karl because I feel like you could plug Karl in at the 5 also, just based on how big he was. I feel like you could have Karl and Garnett on the field at the same time, on the court at the same time. I'm gonna go with that. Sorry, Caleb. Timmy can go to Kohl's and buy those shorts all he wants.
Yeah. You'll just have more time for that.
So I'm gonna start Tim Duncan. And I'm gonna bench Kevin Garnett, and I'm gonna cut Karl Malone. I agree with you in the sense that Timmy D and Garnett are about the same. But the difference in why I need Kevin is because of what Caleb mentioned. The trash talking is elite. Super like mental mess you up elite. Like just know I've heard some stuff of stories of what Kevin Garnett said, and it's just like if you ever heard them things while you were playing, man, it I could see how it would definitely, throw you off your game. So I definitely start with Timmy D, bench Kevin Garnett, and I'm gonna cut the mailman.
The only problem for me is having Garnett and Duncan on the same team is they're so similar. Like
Yeah. I feel
you're
like
gonna have
Garnett
two of the same
can
people.
shoot a little further though.
All right. So when are you gonna pull Duncan off the court? Why do I keep saying field? When are you gonna pull Duncan off the court? And they're both like really skinny that I feel like you wouldn't want to play them
Both.
like either one at the 5, right?
Yeah.
Like Garnett was I looked it up, 240 at the 5. That's like he'd be pushed around playing the 5.
I take Tim Duncan at the 5 because I feel he's more traditional, like back to your basket. And like, don't get me wrong, Kevin Garnett is too, but I feel like Kevin Garnett's game was more face up, mid range shoot, and he can, them height, screens. So that's why I go with that, because I could play them together and put Duncan at the 5 and Kevin Garnett at the 4. And it's no shot at the mailman. Besides the simple fact he in the Last Dance documentary, he was super salty. But but yeah, that's what we got there. Going into our last one, we're gonna end it with shooters. I feel like this one might be a little bit too easy. I could be wrong.
Start Curry.
Steph Curry, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen.
I'll go quick. Start Curry, bench Allen, cut Miller. Nothing against Miller. Allen was almost automatic from the corner.
Yeah.
And Steph hits him anywhere on the court. Start Steph, bench Ray Allen, cut Reggie.
Who you got first, Caleb?
I mean, this is kind of a hard one for me versus like, I actually watched a video about how you remember things is like, I don't even know how to word this, but when I think of Reggie Miller, like I think of someone that you could like run an offense through more. Now, Ray Allen might have been like that. I know he was more like that in his earlier career, but I remember him as a specialty guy, the guy that you give the ball the last, shot to shoot, basically like a more elite JJ Redick.
Yeah.
Whereas like Miller, I remember because I wasn't watching these games younger, but I remember him more as somebody you could run the offense through. So for that reason, I would, I guess we're all probably picking Steph to start, but I would bench Miller and then cut Allen. But I mean, I might be off because I'm remembering the tail end of Allen's career, like the last 5-6 years or so. But I'll lock that pick in.
This one was actually tough for me. Obviously, we're starting Curry. That's just a given. But because I remember somewhat of Ray Allen on the Sonics, and it was before, like he was a good, 3-point shooter, but he was way more athletic and more of, driving he could really drive. Whereas like you mentioned the tail end of his career, it was basically go stand in the corner, and you're going to be open for the 3. So I'm assuming that's the Ray Allen I'm going to get. So I'm going to bench Ray, because if that's the Allen I'm getting and not just a spot up shooter, I'll take that. And it was tough because I'm a big fan of trash talk, and there's really not much of a better iconic trash talking than Miller with the choke, to the New York Knicks fans and Spike Lee. But I got to give it to Ray for that matter. So those are our start, bench, cut for the NBA. You guys let us know down in the comments. Who are you starting? Who you cutting? Who you benching? Again, these will also end up on our social media on Instagram. So if you haven't followed us yet, feel free to hop on over to Instagram and do so, and show us who you would choose to start, cut, and bench. But moving on to our off topic, NBA playoffs are still well in swing. The Western Conference Finals wrapped up on June 30th, a couple of days ago, where we saw the Phoenix Suns punch their ticket back to the NBA Finals. Haven't seen them there since '93 against the Jordan-led Bulls. I was just born that year, for those of you who are listening. So I don't know. I know Barkley and crew were there. Obviously Jordan and crew, but we get to see CP3 make his first ever appearance in the NBA Finals, gentlemen. And we'll start with Caleb. Caleb, give me your final thoughts on this series, Suns versus Clippers. What are your final thoughts on this series?
I'll give the Clippers their flowers, to start off. I mean, this was, they are definitely, I would almost say, like, somewhat of an irritating team, but I have to give Tyronn Lue so much credit for making so many adjustments, not just in this series, but throughout the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He really threw everything he could at the Suns to try to stop them. And, he got it to 6 games, without, really I don't think anybody would argue his best player in Kawhi. And then, their starting center in Ibaka, which so many people forget about. And he's really one of the best big men in the NBA. I mean, if you want to call him a role player, then he's like one of the best role players in the NBA. So missing those 2 guys were huge. The fact that they made this a series was insane to me, with like a mostly healthy Suns team. But, being here, like in the Phoenix Valley, it's so exciting to see, and Chris Paul really leading them into the finals. Whereas, Before game 6, we were, myself included, I was saying, maybe Cam Payne needs more minutes. Like he really pushes the tempo.
Yeah.
And, Chris Paul really took it into high gear, and and really, stepped to the next level and put on a show. And it was amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. PJ, what are your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, like Caleb said, I'm super surprised the Clippers made this as competitive as they did, not being healthy. I feel like I don't want to upset these Caleb sitting in Phoenix. I feel like if Kawhi is there, it's a different series. Like even just Kawhi, I feel like it's a different series. They took down the Mavs in just a sloppy series. I think they were half asleep, expected to walk through the Mavs, but then they did wake up. And they didn't have that like laziness versus the Jazz.
Yeah.
The Jazz were heavily favored. They took care of business. I feel like the attitude would have kept rolling versus Phoenix if they weren't injured. But yeah, I'm glad for the Suns. I gotta ask you a question, Caleb. Since you're in Phoenix, you're an actual Suns fan. How do you feel about bandwagon fans like Matt jumping onto the Valley? Like, are you okay with that, or does that offend you that he would come back after all these years of neglecting and abandoning the team, come back just because they're doing well? Does that offend you?
Now, hold on, Caleb. Before you answer this, let the record show Caleb was also a Spurs fan. Then the brief stint was a Jazz fan.
Does that offend you, Caleb, that this man left the Spurs 15 years ago when we were kids? Yeah, left the Suns 15 years ago when we were kids, and come back only because they're winning now?
I mean, it doesn't offend me, and mostly because I feel like for the most part, basketball, unlike pretty much every other sport, is not so much a sport where you root for the laundry that they wear. I mean, like, as to quote Jerry Seinfeld, but um, like narrative plays into a lot because these guys are almost like more like celebrities, so you like follow the narrative a little bit more. Like, part of the thing was I lived in Utah for a brief stint and Ricky Rubio was there, and then I moved and Ricky Rubio was traded, or he wasn't traded. Basically the Jazz let him walk because they wanted more shooting or whatever. They got Conley and he came to the Suns. So like all of that like kind of made me root for the Suns. Like, they no bubble Suns team was the most like fun thing to watch, even though it wasn't. So I mean, I kind of see why Matt would want to root for the Suns. Like in the NBA especially, I feel like you need a team to root for. Doesn't necessarily mean it's your favorite team, but
yeah, they're
whereas
extremely
like
fun.
with football, I'm Giants only, Mets baseball I'm like Mets only.
Yeah.
Even though I don't follow those sports as much, but I definitely
Well, there you have it, folks.
For that, yeah.
We have Caleb's stamp of approval. That's all we needed.
He just said he's a bandwagon also. He just said
but you asked him though, man.
Yeah,
you
and his answer was I bounce around just as much as Matt does. So
hey, Valley Bros. My final thoughts on this series was, I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous because of the track record that the Clippers had put together, coming back down 2-0 to the Mavs, coming back down 2-0 to the Jazz. Suns went up 2-0. And although they won game 3 in Chris Paul's return, I didn't necessarily panic on that one. I had a feeling, my initial thoughts on this series was Suns in 6. But after the 2-0 lead, I just felt like they were different than the Jazz and the Mavs. So that's I shortened it to Suns in 5. Suns game 5 was extremely, man, it was so nerve-wracking to watch and so very frustrating. You basically got punched in the mouth from the jump, and every time you got close, they just went on another run. So extremely happy for Chris Paul, man. Just year 16 to finally make it to the finals. Obviously, I'm hoping they win the finals, and I feel like he's a top 5 point guard. Some may say he's top 6. He's probably 6 on the outside looking in, but definitely for him to have led up multiple 3-2 leads before and to finally put that stamp of not this time and to drop the 40 piece, extremely happy for him. So I guess that would lead us to our next question of, what do you guys think that this appearance for Chris Paul, what do you think that means for his legacy? Do you feel like he's top 5 already without making it, or do you feel like him finally making it, regardless of if he wins or loses, cements his top 5 legacy?
Top 5 of all time?
As far as point guards.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Top 5 point guards of all time?
Yeah. Where do you stand?
Does this I feel like this appearance doesn't for me, it doesn't change anything. Like, I feel like he's still, I don't know if I can put him in top 5. I feel like he's still in the same level he was at. I feel like if he's because he's been hot. He's been hot. I feel like if he stays healthy throughout these finals and he puts together some dominant performances, because at the same time, I feel like some games he's also being overshadowed by Ayton and of course Booker.
Mm-hmm.
If he puts together some games in this series where he, puts the team on his back and his, guys are locking down Book, and they're saying CP3, you beat us, 35, 36 years old, you do it. See if you can be Bron and take over, this late stage of your career. If he can do it, yeah, then I feel like that might change.
Mm-hmm.
change the narrative about him. But as of right now, just an appearance, with a squad around him, that's very nice. To me, it doesn't change.
Got you. Caleb, what do you think? What does this finals appearance do for CP3's legacy?
I'm trying to think of where exactly I would rank him, but I guess with the finals appearance itself, I feel like, cements him as, for sure top 5. I would have probably had him top 5 before then. I remember, I don't know, back in 2014 or so, where people were saying that Rondo was better, but Rondo hasn't ever been a player like nearly as important to his team as like this team now, or like almost anything Chris Paul's ever been on. So obviously he's better. He just beat them in the series, which people probably forget about because Rondo played so little.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't think of like who exactly I'd rank above him other than for sure Magic Johnson. If he wins the championship, I feel like it's definitely above Nash and Kidd, because he'll obviously be a more important to his team than Kidd was in 2011 when he won the championship, where you could argue, Jason Terry was more important, and other role players. But I would say I would honestly put him just behind Magic.
Wow, above Stockton, above Curry.
Because I feel like the list right now goes, I'm gonna say Magic. I'm gonna say Magic, Curry, Stockton. I feel like maybe Curry and Stockton could swap depending on who you like the most, but that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna also say Isaiah Thomas 4. I'm trying to think of who I feel could be at number 5. I'm not quite sure. I might put CP3 there. For me, just the simple fact he's made it there, I think I'll give him the top 5 nod. And what I'm about to say, hopefully Phoenix Suns fans listening, Caleb listening, you don't take this the wrong way. I feel Chris Paul in his very, very brief stint with Phoenix, and the fact that he's made it to the finals, I feel like because of this, he's bigger than Steve Nash. Like, don't get me wrong, Steve Nash was very great. The run and gun Suns were just extremely good, but Nash just never got them to the finals. And I'm not saying, I feel like Nash was the bigger star there. Amari was very young at that time. And of course, I went on to leave for New York. But at this age, 36, to be able to be that big key missing piece to take the Suns over the edge, I feel like he means more now to Phoenix than maybe Steve Nash. So for me, I will say CP3 is top 5, but at number 5. Before this, I probably had him at number 6, but I can't really think of who I may have ahead of him. I feel like the top 4, you guys would maybe agree. Your order might be a little different. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna stay with there. But now, knowing what we know now with the Bucks and the Hawks, do you guys feel like the Suns are the favorites, regardless of who they play in the finals?
What's the
The Bucks lead the
news
series
on
3-2.
no? What's the news on Giannis?
So from what I've saw, Giannis doesn't look like he will play tomorrow, game 6, but he should be a go for game 7. It looks like Trae Young will make his return back tomorrow for game 6. So regardless, I feel like there will be game 7 where we will see Trae and Giannis both play.
I think if the Suns are playing the Hawks, they're favored. I think if the Suns are playing the Bucks, it might be a healthy Bucks team. I think that's going to be a closer matchup. Because I'll take the Suns front court, but I'll take the Bucks big men.
Yeah. What about you, Caleb? What do you think?
I'm kind of feeling it's weird. There's so many factors that I think about like going into either of these series.
Mhm.
Like I try not to blind like everybody going for Phoenix around me, like being here
Yeah.
to, but you know, when I think about like last year's Heat team that beat the Bucks, I'm like, where the Suns are not that different from that Heat team that beat the Bucks. I mean, I know Drew Holiday is a huge difference because he can put the clamps on like any of the guards.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm thinking of Giannis coming to the basket, assuming he's healthy. You know, we've got Crowder again, who was stopping him in Miami last year, and we've
Mhm.
got Ayton instead of Adebayo, which you know
There's a
he might be a
height
little bit
difference.
worse than Adebayo, but not really. Like he's almost as good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's proven himself almost as good that, you know, this playoff run. So I don't see Giannis being like a super huge factor against the Suns for that reason. But Drew Holiday's defense on, assuming that's
Booker
who
or
makes it
CP.
because they're
Yeah.
one game away. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's an elite defender. I have to give him that.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with PJ. If it's the Hawks, I do feel like you are definitely the definite favorite. I do feel if it's the Bucks, the series goes 7. I can't sit here and ignore the height of the Bucks. It's not just the back court or the front court with Lopez and Giannis. I mean, Middleton's what 6'8", 6'7", playing shooting guard, small forward. Drew Holiday is also tall, so they have the height for sure. And I can see where it would possibly give you somewhat of some fits, but I do also agree with you, Caleb, in the sense of you do have guys in Jay Crowder who are familiar with guarding Giannis. So that helps. No disrespect to Brook Lopez. Um, he dropped 33 last night in the win. Big guy, but I feel like Aiden's just more athletic. I don't know if you can keep up with him in their space and pace and running up the floor and whatnot. So I do think that would be the more exciting matchup. However, Bucks versus the Suns. Whereas I honestly kind of feel like Suns Hawks, it might be over in 5. I could be wrong. But that's
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm laying with that right there. But one thing that we can move into now is we mentioned earlier the Hawks are miss a couple games without Trae Young. The Bucks will be missing. Looks like Giannis for maybe two more games. Injuries, gentlemen, are hurting the playoffs, or are they? We have a long list of injuries that have just swept these NBA playoffs, but surprisingly, they've still somewhat have been exciting. Um, so let me get you guys' thoughts on these injuries. Do you feel they're hurting the playoffs? We'll start with PJ.
Let me ask you this. Even if they are, what are you proposing? You pause and let people get healthy again? If that's the case, would you have wanted to wait and get Kawhi back on the court for your series?
Me personally, I wouldn't say pause. Before news broke of Kawhi being out, I still had Suns in 6. Now, obviously, it might have gone 7, and I agree with you when it says it would have been difficult, a little bit more difficult, and I could honestly have seen the Clippers winning. But no, I'm not saying it's. Let's take a brief pause. I mean, because teams still have to show up at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. So then, if there's no workaround for it, then I think it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, injuries happen in all sports. And to me, I feel like that's the only thing you could argue that NBA is weak at, is that they focus so much on
The injuries
no on superstars that maybe your depth isn't
isn't the
as
best. Yeah,
isn't as good as it should be, i.e. the Lakers. You lose your LeBron, or shoot, even if you keep LeBron and you just lose AD, he can't carry a team of scrubs. No offense to Lakers fans. Um, yeah. So I feel like, okay, injuries happen in every sport. That's why you build depth. That's why there's
Yeah.
a 6-man award. That's why you recognize that talent that comes off the bench. So yeah, I don't think it's hurting. I think it's part of the team. Build your team for depth, not just superstars.
What about you, Caleb?
Uh, in the end, I feel like, it hurts it in the moment. Like, you're thinking about what just happened, but the more time that goes by, the more you're going to forget about it. Like, you really have to like research these injuries like years coming, because all we're going to remember is who was crowned, the champion, who got the rings.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much better it'll be for next year. Like, just to kind of give a preview, because I know I watched that interview. I think it was like with Jay Williams and Adam Silver, where he was saying like, the NBA starting on Christmas Day. That was kind of cool. Like, just starting like in, right before like the New Year starts or whatever. And Adam Silver was like, no, well, we're probably going to get back to schedule. So we're thinking like shortened off season again.
Sheesh, again.
Is this going to happen
Yeah.
again? Obviously the games probably are going to be spaced out better because it'd be like the normal length season, but you never know how it's going to affect those that are going to have the really short off season. So
Yeah.
for maybe those who are bouncing the playoffs first, it'd be better for them. They got time to get healthy.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what you both are saying. I agree with you, Caleb, for the sense of, for NBA standpoint, you're probably hurting because your big stars aren't out there. So maybe ratings aren't as high, when you don't have Kawhi out there, AD, what's his name, Trae Young, Giannis, Harden and Kyrie and such. So I get that, but I also agree with PJ in the sense of next man up mentality. If you rely so heavily on your superstar talent, you know, Nets maybe per se, Lakers maybe per se, that you didn't build that depth, then it let you down. So it's
And you don't deserve to win.
yeah. Whereas a team like I feel like a team. I'm gonna say I feel like the team like the Clippers and the Suns had very good depth, which is why maybe if Kawhi comes, it's definitely going 7, and it's I'd say a coin flip on who wins. So that's how we feel. You guys let us know. Do you feel the injuries are hurting the playoffs? But we'll move on into the Hawks and Bucks. Now, again, the Bucks are currently leading this series 3-2 with both of their superstars out. Hopefully, we'll get them back for Game 6, but that will be determined tomorrow. Just quick thoughts on this series and a prediction, Caleb. What are your thoughts on this series so far?
I honestly have no idea where it's going, to be honest, just because the Hawks are like such an outlier, because they can have guys that get really hot from 3. Not so much like proven in the playoffs, because I'm thinking like Gallo hasn't like been the greatest playoff performer throughout his career, but on a normal day he hits his threes. You've got Herder, who's been pretty good, kind of on and off. Bogdanovich can do some things. I mean, if Trae Young comes back, because it seems as if his injury's not as bad as Giannis, but we don't really know, just because it doesn't look as bad. We don't really know, but I would just not count them out at any point, just because of what they've done this playoffs.
So what's your final prediction for this series? Because this episode will drop. We are recording this on a Friday. So obviously Monday, when we drop this episode, we will know the finals matchup. So who do you have facing off against the Suns?
It's kind of conditional, because if like, I don't know, has Trae Young, has he been deemed out, or has he been declared as out for the next game?
So from what I've seen, it's likely he returns tomorrow, and it's likely that Giannis returns for Game 7, because they have that cushion of being up 3-2. it's almost likely that Trae Young kind of feels like he has to come back because they're down. Whereas Giannis is like, I know for a fact we'll have game 7. So it hasn't been put out yet, whether or not they both play, but that's kind of the consensus of both of the superstars.
If Trey comes back, then I'm going to pick Hawks in 7. That's my pick.
Oh, Hawks in 7. PJ, who are you riding with?
I agree with what Caleb said about I don't know where this series is going. Because I honestly have no idea how the Hawks are still in the playoffs, to be totally honest with you. Right? Like, does anyone
I agree
realize
with
that
you.
the Hawks are still in the playoffs? Like, how are they here? How are they in the Eastern Conference Finals? I truly have no idea. Yeah, like all the guys that Caleb mentioned would be like great depth pieces. Like they're not. I mean, Clint Capella, but like Bogdan. All right, like
he's kind of streaky.
Bogdan would be a great 6-man,
Yeah.
like I don't know how they have how they've made it so far. And maybe that just speaks to the chemistry of the team, You get scrappy guys that have always been like almost great, but not quite. And then you put them all together and they perform. So chemistry can't be overlooked. They have the chemistry, obviously, but and at the same time, I don't trust the Bucks. I feel like the Bucks have struggled in these playoffs way more than they should have, which maybe speaks to their chemistry. I feel like on paper the Bucks are a better team. I would take Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, just those 3 alone over everyone on the Hawks starting 5 outside of Trae Young.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no idea. Basically, this long rant was to say I truly have no idea. The Hawks shouldn't be here. The Bucks shouldn't be struggling, but here we are. I'm gonna say Bucks in 7.
Yeah. So I'm gonna also agree with you guys. I don't know where it's going because one moment it looks like the Bucks can't be stopped, but then next moment here come the Hawks. But I will say this: after the Sixers series with the Hawks and the Sixers, I can't sleep on the Hawks. To me, their run is just a little bit more impressive. You face maybe arguably the best defensive teams in the East, going through the Knicks, then the Sixers, and now the Bucks. I'm a big fan of what Ice Trae has been able to accomplish. I feel like he's the new era's Reggie Miller with his trash talking, and especially because of what he's he did for the people in the Garden. So I'm gonna agree with Caleb, and I'm gonna go Hawks in 7. I also agree with what PJ says. Like I didn't see the Hawks being here, but the Bucks shouldn't also be struggling this much. So, and because of that, I want to go for the Cinderella feel-good story, and to me, that's the Atlanta Hawks. So, you guys let us. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I do think if the series falls to the Hawks, it not taking anything away from what they did to the Knicks. I feel like they dominated there. Same with they dominated there, and they play scrappy versus the Sixers. If they win this series, I think it's more because the Bucks fall apart, not because the Hawks dominated. Because they're not. They're not. I think it's more indicative on the Bucks, and maybe they don't have a winning culture there or a winning mindset because they're struggling in every series.
Yeah, I agree. You guys let us know down in the comments, who do you feel takes this series? Well, I can't even say that because by the time this episode comes out, we'll already know. So other than that, that's pretty much all we have for the off-topic news. Again, we look forward to seeing who comes out of the East to join Phoenix in the big dance for the championship. Moving on into our hype section. Guests go first. Caleb, tell the people at home something you're hyped about, man.
I'm trying to think of a non-obvious one other than the NBA Finals.
I mean, if that's what you're hyped for, that's cool too. I mean, we had Mike on the show, and obviously we talked hockey, and although he was excited for Stanley Cup, he still mentioned he was hyped for that. So you let us know. You don't know
What about oh gosh. Like I didn't really think of anything else.
Let me jump
I
in.
guess
I
I'm
give you some
hyped.
time to
Yeah,
think.
I got one. I'm hyped for the summer to be over because the summers are brutal here in Phoenix. Even though
Yeah.
poor friends in other places are having it worse than us, so
Yeah.
kind of not equipped to deal with like these heat waves and stuff. So thoughts and prayers go out to them. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for all these heat waves and things like that to be over.
Yeah. That's something different. That I didn't think of anything like that. PJ, what's something you're hyped for?
Man, you know it already. You know it already. I'm hyped for the PDGA Disc Golf 2021 Worlds. That was insane. That was insane last week. Number one on Sports Center top 10, which really shows you the growth of the sport. Um, let me just break it down for you in a way that you'll appreciate it. So this guy James Conrad, he's going against the five-time world champion, the reigning champ, right? It would be like if you were playing one-on-one right now, uh, with MJ, right? Uh, and for some reason, you're playing at half court, and he's pressing like no one's business, won't even let you get to the three, uh, and you jack up a shot in his eye, and you splash it. Like imagine how hyped you'd be.
Yeah.
This guy threw in a shot blind into the sun from 247 feet. A big swooping anhyzer, so difficult to land inbounds, much less to get it in the basket to force playoffs and win versus arguably the best player that the sport has ever seen. That deserved all of the applause, all the recognition, all the accolades it got from SportsCenter, from ESPN, from the big outlets. I'm excited to see the growth of disc golf. It's exciting. I'm hyped about it. I keep telling everyone about it. It was a great shot.
Yeah, man, we kind of saw that one coming. A little foreshadow, if you will, to the left of you. We see your disc sitting there on the floor. So, something I'm hyped for, and I'm kind of like Caleb, but to see the Suns in the finals, I feel like is super easy. So I'm gonna say something that is going to happen next week. For most of you who are listening and know, I'm a pretty big sneakerhead myself. So I wouldn't say every couple months, once a year, me and a couple friends, shout out Sneakerhead Anonymous crew. We get together to kind of do a shoe and tell, just kind of show love of what we've got lately and whatnot. So that's something that we are doing next week. Big Zoom meeting to kind of just hang out, and talk shoes and show the recent heat. So that's something I'm hyped for. Again, as I mentioned beginning of the show, we reached out to you guys, the regulars, to see what you were hyped for. And Sky Brown 21 mentioned that he was hyped for opening week of the NFL. And we could not agree more with you. Obviously, we're in the primetime spots of the NBA. NBA Finals about to kick off. But man, we love ourselves a little contact, Petey.
Yeah, man, this is the last month
Yep.
without NFL football
Yep.
until March 2022. So yeah, man, we're excited about it too. Can't wait for football to start.
Yeah.
Training camps open up end of this month, right?
Yep.
About 3
This
weeks
month.
time. So yeah.
And what better way than to start off and to also segue in, if you're avid listener to the show, each and every week, starting next week, we will be breaking down each division, leading up into the season, into our big predictions and so on and so forth. So really stay tuned for that. We have so many people coming on to break down their favorite teams. You guys let us know if that's something you're interested in. DM us if you know us personally. Maybe we can get you on the show to talk some NFL football and break down your favorite team. But at this moment, we thank Caleb so much for joining us.
Caleb, so good to see you again. Thank you
Yeah,
for
man.
coming on the
Nice to
show,
see you
man.
guys too. And thanks
Uh,
for having me again. And
Yeah, Caleb's a regular, just like you guys, just like we had Mike on last week. We want to get back to the guys who listen to us on the regular, have them come on the show to talk some sports with the regular guys. So we can't
Caleb,
thank you enough,
before you
man.
go, man, let me ask you one last question.
Oh no.
One more start, bench, cut. Let's go back to the old book here. Let's go back to the old book.
oh no.
Start, bench, cut. Ethan, Josh Marrero, Jacob Santiago. Start, bench, cut.
Oh no, that
Start,
should be
bench, cut.
easy.
Shout them out.
That should be
Remember,
easy.
all in their prime.
You know, like if I really have to think about it, I'm like, Jacob is really tough playing football. So I'm gonna have to start him, and
Oh no,
I'd
you
bench
may have to say
Ethan,
that.
and then
No,
I'd
get
cut
out of here.
Josh.
Get out of here.
Oh, he's just saying that because they
He
friends.
just, yeah, he just
Josh,
said
send me the
that.
jersey, bro. I got you.
Josh. Oh man,
Matt, tell the truth, man. Tell the people the truth. Tell them what they want to hear.
I'm gonna start Ethan. That's just a no-brainer.
Easy. That's easy.
Easy no-brainer.
That's easy.
Just the pure speed.
Caleb didn't even pick his own brother. That's messed up.
The pure speed, the shiftiness. I just have to.
It's Ethan, 100%.
We save his speed for later in the game.
I'm gonna cut Josh Marrero just because that guy just took L after L after L. And I'm gonna bench Jake. So at least Jake's still on the team. Whatever we're playing, I know Jake's gonna, like Caleb said, give some good effort.
Good effort. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. But again, regulars, we thank you guys so much for listening. Episode 11, coming to you on this beautiful Monday morning. PJ, you got any closing words before we leave?
Ethan, if you're listening, man, your brother just benched you. I would never do that to you, brother. Come on the show. We miss you. I thought Caleb was gonna be our best guest. Maybe we should have both of them here. Maybe we should have both the Garcia brothers in one show.
At some point,
and
we'll get all the time zones in here
and just have them duke it out, man. No, but I'm glad to be back. Glad to jump on a little bit. Glad to see my guys again. It's been a long time since we were able to talk like this, talk sports. Thank you for listening.
Caleb, closing words, man.
Yeah, I hope everyone listening's, really excited for the finals. You got NFL season coming up just around the corner, and yeah, it's a really exciting time. So
yeah, man,
we'll take care, everybody.
Yeah, man. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, supporting us on a weekly basis. Again, stay tuned for the things we have coming up. Again, interact with us on our Instagram stories. If you want to come on the show, hey, let us know. We're always open and welcome to having guests appear. No Jake this week, so I'll do the
drop
honors.
A comment though if you miss Jake.
Yeah.
If you didn't miss Jake, also drop a comment and tell him that you didn't miss him.
Yeah, and we might have his replacement. Nah, I'm saying I can miss Jake, but no Jake this week. So I'll end us off. Peace.
Regular Guys Podcast.